Hello and welcome to the Strategic Bookkeeper podcast. Today's episode, I am grateful to the bookkeeper who I'm going to call Diane that sent me an email to ask me another question about pricing. Now, pricing, my friends, is one of the absolute top key pillars to how you are going to thrive in practice. And when I say thrive in practice, I mean build a practice that has got lots of income, lots of time wealth, gives you purpose, gives you joy. I don't mean build a busy practice. Okay. Too many times do I see bookkeepers raving on about busy, whereas if I lift the lid on their practice, I'm not going to see the income, the time, and so on. Okay. If we're being honest with ourselves. So, pricing. I recently did a few episodes on pricing. I'll mention those in this episode. Today's question that I'm answering is quite simple. The question is really about pricing in regional areas, but it has given me the opportunity to just share my thought leadership around pricing, share what I do around pricing, share on what you need to do around pricing in a new way, in a fresh way. Because when I reflect on my 15 years in practice, I had a lot of conversations, a lot of education around pricing for years and years and years, but I didn't get it very quickly. I didn't get it very easily, and I certainly didn't take action for a long, long time. And I think that it's a really common experience and completely normal, because as humans, we don't just hear something or learn something and then have the ability to fully understand it, implement it. We, as humans, the way it works is that we need to hear it, learn it, actually accept it, then understand how to implement it, and so on. There's just so much more to it. So when I'm able to show up like this and give you more information on pricing, even if I'm rinsing and repeating, I'm able to do it in a new way through a new lens. And that's what Diane has given me. She's given me a new lens through which to look, to share once again with you on pricing. And I absolutely know that what I share in this podcast and the other ones that I'll direct you to on pricing will 100% get you closer to your goals, okay? Your goals being the income, the time, the purpose, the joy, okay? I 100% know that, because I know that no matter where you are in your bookkeeping practice journey, this will be your next step, okay? Just like I had lots of steps along the way that took me to where I was. And some of those steps was just listening, not being convinced, not taking action. But every step got me closer to the step I took back in about 2015, where I went from hourly to fixed. Was my first kind of big pricing transformation that doubled my net profits in the space of a year. And since 2015, like, my goodness, I can't believe it's like 9 years ahead now. I've come a long way, and I have coined the phrase outcome billing in our industry. So in the accounting industry, outcome billing is what I have taken to the market. It's something I'm really proud of. It's something that I want you to be able to learn, to embrace, to implement. Okay. So without further ado, how about we jump into the podcast so I can educate you some more and help you take action some more around pricing. I'm Jeannie Savage, the Strategic Bookkeeper. I've been in practice for 14 years, but more importantly, 5 years in, I achieved a lifestyle practice. This means I scaled my business, could take my hands off the wheel, and draw a nice six-figure income while being time rich. And that's what I call my dream on my terms. I was recently awarded Women in Finance Innovator of the Year, recognizing my book, my podcast, my program, and my impact globally. The Strategic Bookkeeper is my life's work, and the opportunity to help bookkeepers globally achieve the income and lifestyle that sets them free absolutely fills my cup. Please do connect with me on socials at the Strategic Bookkeepers Way private Facebook group, or shoot me an email, hello@thestrategicbookkeeper.global. Okay, so I am recording this podcast in response to an email I've received, because I do think I'd like to share the answer to the questions I've been asked for everyone. I think it's going to be really helpful. So I'm going to keep names totally confidential as always, but I'm going to read out the bulk of the message while also removing some items just to keep it super confidential. So this bookkeeper, we're going to call her Diane. She is in Australia, okay? As most of you know, I serve bookkeepers all over the world. Primarily, we have tribe members in Canada, America, the UK, New Zealand, and Australia. But I also hear from bookkeepers in every corner of the world. I've sent signed copies of my book to Africa. So yeah, very exciting. Back to this. So this bookkeeper is in Australia. And actually, she's in a bit of a regional area and she's asking me about pricing to do with regional area. Okay, so basically, she's saying in her regional area, she feels that wages are lower and the cost of houses is lower and so on and so on. Now, she may have, I'm not quite sure, she might have listened to my podcast series on pricing that I did recently. So I did a 3-part series called Pricing for Profit and Joy. And it was kind of part of a series that started with Plan for Success, very easy to find. And all those podcasts I actually created after a wonderful bookkeeper reached out with some questions. So when you email me, just like Diane has, I do consider creating either one podcast or multiple podcasts. So if you've got questions, please do shoot me an email. So let's look at the question, which primarily is, do you think I can still charge the same as everyone else for bookkeeping if I'm in a regional area and things are different here? And the rate that Diane's asking me about is $95 an hour. Okay, now, if you haven't listened to my 3 podcasts on pricing, I recommend that you do so right now ahead of listening to this, or listen to this podcast right through and then listen to those 3. I'm going to let you know that those 3 pricing podcasts are probably going to be higher value than most of what you'll pay for globally, except inside my transformation program, which is a world-class, world first. But that's not what I'm here to tell you about today. So $95 an hour, where has that rate come from? In Australia, when I'm recording this podcast, it is September 2024, okay? $95 an hour as a rate inside your bookkeeping calculator is going to position you to have a bare-ass minimum calculator rate to at least earn what you could in a good job, okay? If you're in Australia, for example, if you are charging less than $95 an hour as at today, inside your calculator rate, you're probably going to be one of 9 out of 10 bookkeepers who fails to thrive and fails to earn less than they could in a decent job, okay? Now, episode number 2 of my public podcast will explain a bit more about that. So I'm not going to go into that. You might be saying to yourself, why is that, Jeannie? Okay. I would say, trust me now, believe me later, these are the rules of the game, but you can listen to more of why in that episode number 2 of the strategic bookkeeper. And I remember a bookkeeper reaching out to me with that episode, having run the numbers on her practice as a solopreneur and saying, you are so right about what you said in there. A third of my charge out rate is taken up for the day-to-day running of my business. Okay, so if you're all by yourself, it's easy for you to think it's all pure profit, and it's not. And I will tell you, the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers here in Australia is on point when they give you bare-ass minimum calculator rates, and their calculator rates will be up around that $100 an hour right now, right? We're quoting 95, 100, it's $5 different. I'm going to now proceed talking $100 an hour because $5 here or there, if that breaks your business, if that means you don't pick up work, then you've got far more problems than your pricing, okay? And I would love to help you. Please do pick up my book, my podcast, and then you can get information about our transformation program online, okay? Now, the short answer to should I charge the same as everyone else is yes, that is the short answer. And actually, the question from Diane is amazing because it's a question I've asked myself over the years, right? So as at today, I've had my bookkeeping practice for 15 years. I now support bookkeepers all over the globe. I get so excited because I also get to support them to impact the lives of families the way that I have over the years. So I have helped entrepreneurs through strategic bookkeeping and beyond to just go from struggling to thriving, to really optimize their income, their time, their purpose, their joy. And through my methods and my systems, I now get to help hundreds of bookkeepers help thousands of families all around the world. So very exciting. But I digress. So the point to that is that I've had my bookkeeping practice 15 years as at now. And I remember there was a time, because I actually live myself in what is regional. I feel like we're becoming a big city now, the Gold Coast. But you think 15 years ago, we were certainly progressing, but we were still regional. And I remember wondering from time to time, are rates that are charged out in Sydney, is that really what I can charge in a regional area? And I can tell you that it's probably a question I've asked myself for over a decade now. And there were times where I thought, I think maybe when you're in a regional area, you need to charge less. Now, if you're charging out by the hour, then the perception of what you charge might drive a bit of that. But I can tell you, it doesn't matter where you live in the world. If you charge by the hour, you are setting your prospective clients and your clients up to be and feel cost focused. Whether you're charging $5 an hour or $1,000 an hour, okay, you are setting people up to be cost focused. So first of all, I will let Diane know, please do not charge by the hour. That's a broken model and you will not thrive doing that, okay? You might, if you're lucky, build a busy practice, but it will not be one with the income, the time, the purpose, or the joy, okay? And I know that 100%, and it's backed up by statistics, which is 9 out of 10, okay? Bookkeepers are going to fail to thrive. So the short answer is yes, in your bookkeeping pricing calculator. And I will let you know, by the time you listen to this, you'll have had the opportunity to hear from my tribe members. And it was amazing feedback for me when I actually interviewed Karen Andrews on my podcast not so long ago. And she runs an incredible, successful bookkeeping practice. She's already doing a lot of things just perfectly. But she said our calculator was really better than hers. The way that we were pricing, she could take a lot from that. Okay, so our calculator is great. If you want access to that, I'm sure you can figure out how to do that. Or if you don't know, let us know. We've got Pricing Academy available at all times for you to enroll in, but the transformation program only 3 times a year, okay? And to be clear, we have now included the Pricing Academy in the transformation program, but it is also available standalone. And inside there, you get the pricing calculator. But if you're not going to do that, if you're going to just use my book and my podcast and go it alone, then you do need to develop your own pricing calculator. That's like a black, white fork in the road. I'm not one to just kind of softly. I'll tell you exactly what you need to do. You need to, just like I did, develop a pricing calculator, okay? You can use Microsoft Excel, you can use Google Sheets, but you need to figure that out. And you can listen to the podcast where I interviewed Karen Andrews, and she does explain a bit of what she found useful inside our pricing calculator, and that might give you some more direction on how to build out yours. But this rate, $95 an hour, let me be crystal clear. This is like a keep your business alive rate. Okay, this is like I'm taking your pulse, like, when you're looking at your own health and you're either well or you're unwell, right? And we all have a different little level of that. So, basically to stay a well human, you need to eat the right food and you need to move and you need to take care of yourself. Well, your business is a bit like that as well, okay? And if your bookkeeping pricing calculator contains a bare ass minimum rate, as at today, of less than $100 an hour, then your business will be getting sick. Okay. And you might not know it yet. You might know it because you might be scratching your head going, oh my goodness, the income and the time is not there. Okay. Or you might be really excited at the beginning of a journey, bringing on clients and not realizing that your business is getting sick. Okay. Because that's what happens. And by the time we realize the wheels are spinning, the business is really busy, but it's not thriving. Busy and thriving, 2 different things, right? So your bare ass minimum calculator rate should be about $100. And that is how you do a step 1 of calculating fee structures for clients, okay? And then to calculate an appropriate outcome-based bill, you're just going to use the structure I give you in those 3 podcasts, which is Pricing for Profit and Joy, part 1, part 2, part 3. So I don't need to rinse and repeat on that again. You've got all that information to use, okay? Now, one last thing on pricing and regional areas, going back to where I started with Diane's email, and that is that I'm going to make an assumption based on Diane's question that she's trying to work with just her local area or her regional area. And I don't know why any bookkeeper would do that. We are in professional services. We don't deliver services generally on premises. Generally, we are now working remotely, delivering services or our productized services remotely, which means that we should be able to serve clients. And my recommendation, my advice to you is to serve clients throughout your entire country, which is usually your taxation system, right? Or if you feel you can serve clients all around the globe, go for it. I have absolutely, I think I did a quote for what was one of the, I can't remember one of the regions, but it was way over the Northern Hemisphere. And they said to me that they loved my profile and their taxation system was such that they thought that it wouldn't really matter because it wasn't something that needed to be handled inside the bookkeeping. So the moral of the story is my advice to you as a bookkeeping coach is to serve clients in the widest possible geographic location that you can, because otherwise you are limiting yourself. Absolutely. Like if you look at a plumber or an electrician, they can only serve people in their 5, 10, 20 kilometer radius, okay? Whereas you absolutely should be helping clients solve problems all around the place. So usually, as I say, for bookkeepers, they'll tend to stick to their country, whether that's America, Australia, New Zealand, and so on. But I do know bookkeepers who serve in multiple countries. So just wanted to add that part in about regional pricing. I am going to just remind you of something that I love to remind you of, and I was saying this to an entrepreneur yesterday, and that is it's so, so important to remember that people don't buy what we do, they buy why we do it. And why we do it is what's in it for them, okay? The other way to look at it is the bookkeeping is the vehicle to get us to a destination, all right? Now, a simple example of that is that bookkeeping is how business owners, how entrepreneurs do better in business. So bookkeeping, up-to-date, accurate bookkeeping is pillar one for the success of any business. This is globally recognized. This is just a fact and a rule of the game. Now, the reason for that is that without up-to-date, accurate bookkeeping, you cannot see how your business is performing in terms of profit and cash, okay? And if you can't see how your business is performing, then you can't make any decisions to move the needle in terms of your income, your profit, your cash, your time, wealth, your purpose, and your joy. That's going to lead to you being very much in the dark and remove peace of mind and probably wake you up in the night. If you don't have up-to-date, accurate bookkeeping, so this is for your entrepreneurs, then you're probably looking at the bank account in order to glean how your business is performing. That is the fast track to bankruptcy, and it turns a lot of business dreams into nightmares as entrepreneurs just don't realize that they're racking up a whole lot of obligations. For example, tax debt, goods and services tax, like income tax debt, goods and services tax debt, superannuation for their staff, money they owe suppliers, etc., cannot be seen in the bank account. The bank account is the money you have in the bank. Your business financials, which come from up-to-date, accurate bookkeeping records, that is going to show you your actual income and your cash flow and so on, okay? So this is why, if you're listening to this kind of thinking, this is a lot. Number one, this is continued professional education, so pop it in your diary. But the second thing is what I just told you is so critically important for you as a bookkeeper to know, because did you know that you're the gateway to success? Did you know that you're the gatekeeper? Okay, because you are. However, bookkeepers, most of them, even more than 9 out of 10, think of themselves around what they do. Okay, so you do the features and the functions of the bookkeeping, but you never consider how this job that you do, this preparing up-to-date, accurate numbers, is actually pillar one for success for the reasons that I've just told you there, okay? So that's still the vehicle, okay? So the up-to-date accurate bookkeeping numbers is still the long-haul flight that I'm going to take to get to my ideal holiday destination. And let's just say that that ideal holiday destination that I'm dreaming of and telling you all about, I can't wait to go to Paris, right, is better in business, okay? So when entrepreneurs come to you to get bookkeeping, I want you to be crystal clear right now that they are not coming to you for the bookkeeping. That's like saying I'm coming for the 36-hour flight with stopovers and a migraine at the end of it, okay, that I talk about in other podcasts. But I need to say this stuff regularly to really help you understand, okay? Your entrepreneurs are not buying bookkeeping off you. Okay, take a moment to digest that, because if you had have told me that 15 years ago at the beginning of my journey, my little jaw would have dropped open and I would have been, tell me more, right? This is brand new information to me. So let's say it again. Your prospective clients, when they knock on your door and say, I need bookkeeping, they're using a different language. Yeah, so let's translate it. They're saying, I want to go to destination better in business. So I'd like to direct you to a platform that we have for the strategic bookkeepers inside my tribe. It's called betterinbusiness.global, and it exists to promote strategic bookkeeping and the strategic bookkeepers in my network. We even have a directory in there, okay? The reason I'd like to point you there is a couple of things. Number one, there's a podcast, okay? So that podcast is set up to support entrepreneurs and to pitch strategic bookkeeping and the benefits of it, and to pitch the strategic bookkeepers in the network and working with them, okay? And that is great for you to know because that's all included inside the program, okay? So please don't sell hours, sell outcomes. Please don't sell bookkeeping, sell better in business. Please don't sell what you do, sell why you do it. And that's what we just talked about. You're doing it to help people do better in business, okay? We have a whole kind of vision and mission and strategic foundation and so on that expands on the better in business, full value proposition, overcome objections, unique selling propositions, etc., that stacks a competitive advantage and helps encourage entrepreneurs to onboard without price as a priority and so on inside of what we give you in the Done For You assets of the Done For You program. But whether you join us one day inside the program or not, it is so critically important for you to begin to understand all these things and all this language. So if what I said just then doesn't make complete sense, like if you're thinking, what the hell is a unique selling proposition? That's okay. I was there once too, okay? The reason that I know what I know today and I can support bookkeepers the way I support them today is because I've been there, done that, okay? And wherever you are in your journey, you are at the perfect place at the perfect time, okay? And you've got my book and my podcast and so on. So the reason that answering a simple question for me is a 20-minute podcast is because, as well as being the strategic bookkeeper, I'm very much the holistic bookkeeper, okay? I want to look at symptoms but get to the source of a problem. So when I'm asked a question like I was a while ago and I created 5 podcasts, it's because I want to give you a holistic approach and attack the source of any problems, okay? The other thing I'll say is that with Diane and talking about, should I charge $95 an hour? Should I charge less because I'm in a regional place? Diane is suffering something that I absolutely went through deeply myself. And I talk about it a bit in a few different podcasts, including the entrepreneurial journey and that number 2 podcast on pricing and various, I talk about this a bit. It's employee mindset. An entrepreneur said to me the other day that he had this kind of real light bulb moment where he realized that he was really stuck in his employee mindset. Now, for this entrepreneur, he'd been in sales and he said, I'm showing up like a salesperson, not like an entrepreneur. And I love that because for bookkeepers and for myself included, moving past this employee mindset where we think about time for money, I will let Diane know and I'll let you know, as I've said before, you are not trading your time for money in your bookkeeping practice. You're solving problems. Number one, you're in the problem solving business, okay? And you're going to solve those problems with a combination of stuff. That's going to be your background, your experience, your expertise, your skills, your qualifications, your certifications, your continued professional education, your intellectual property, and your time. So you're solving problems. You're not trading time for money. If you need to pause and say that 10 times, go and write it out like you used to write lines at school. Go and write it on your mirror. I'm solving problems for people. Okay, I am not trading time for money. I'm solving problems for people with all the things I just said then. Okay, I want this to be a brain explosion for you. I want you to move forward like you're at a fork in the road and go in a whole new direction. That's my job, to give you direction and redirection. Okay, and it gets me out of bed in the morning. So that is a wrap on answering that question. And I'm going to see you in the next podcast. Okay, my friend, now it is time to take action. So what are you going to do with what you learned today? The way I see it, you've got two options. You can go it alone to try and save some money, or you can back yourself and go for it and join my tribe. And let me tell you, we are knocking it out of the ballpark. That's not a sales pitch. That is me serving you, dare I say, courageously. To find success, I 100% know you need the mechanics, which is like the keys to the kingdom, but you also need to get your mindset right and be super productive. And these are all things I help you with inside the program. I could go on about this forever because I really want this for you. Have a prosperous week, and I'll see you in the next episode.